All right, so for this video, we're now moving on to Unit 1E, and we're now going to be solving absolute value equations. All right, so our only goal for today is to be able to solve absolute value equations. All right, so let's go through and talk about a few things first before we dive into any of the problems. All right, so first, what is absolute value actually asking us? And that's asking us how far away from zero are we? So when we talk about how far away, we're talking about the distance of something. So if I ask you what is the absolute value of 3, and we represent absolute value with those two bars on the outside, we're saying, well, how far away from 0 is 3? So 3 is 1, 2, 3 units away. So the answer to the absolute value of 3 is equal to 3. So I can also ask you, though, what is the absolute value of negative 3? And once again, we're talking about the distance from 0. Distance is always measured in a positive number. You would never call up your friend and say, I'm negative 2 kilometers away. It just doesn't make sense. So since we're dealing with distance, we're saying, well, how far away is negative 3 from 0? Well, it's 1, 2, 3 units away from 0 as well. So the absolute value of negative 3 is also equal to 3. So this is a really, really important thing that you need to understand, that when we're talking about the absolute value of numbers, it's saying how far away from 0 are we. So it's always giving our answers as a positive number. So absolute value of 3 gives us the answer of 3, and the absolute value of negative 3 also gives us the answer of 3. And that goes for all of our numbers. If I say the absolute value of negative 15, well, that is equal to positive 15 because we're 15 units away, so our distance is 15. And if I say the absolute value of positive 15, that's also equal to 15 because it is 15 units away from 0. So we know that the absolute value of the opposite signs are going to give us the same answer. And it's something that we need to be able to understand and have a strong understanding of for when we're solving absolute value equations. So let's go ahead and start with some really easy ones and work our way up. All right, so this question is asking us the absolute value of x. So the absolute value of what number is equal to 12? So remember, as I showed you, the absolute value of 12 we know is equal to 12, but we also know that the absolute value of negative 12 is equal to positive 12 as well. So when we're dealing with the absolute value, we actually need to create two separate problems for this. And what we do is we take whatever's on the inside of our absolute value. So in this case, it's nice and easy. It's an x, and we set that equal to both the positive, or I guess we set it equal to not both the positive, but the number that is set equal to here. So that means it's 12. So we set it equal to 12. And then we had to create a second case because we know that that x can also be negative 12 and still give us an answer of 12 as our final answer. So what we do is we take whatever's on the inside of this absolute value. So in this case, it's x, and we're creating two problems. And we take the answer that it's set to, and we set it equal to 1. And then we need to take the opposite of that, or the negative, and set it equal to the other. And since this was just x inside of our absolute value, that means that our two answers are x is equal to 12 or x is equal to negative 12. So we can write it as x is equal to 12, comma, negative 12, or you can say x is equal to 12 or negative 12 if you really want to. But you should always rewrite these as one answer, like this, or like the one below. All right, so when you're solving this, we know, like we showed up here before, that we are going to actually get two answers. So negative 3 gives us a positive 3 as our answer, and positive 3 also gives us positive 3 as an answer. So we need to use that same logic and thought process as we're going through these questions. All right, so for this problem, the absolute value of x is equal to 192. So once again, I need to look and say, okay, what's on my inside? I'm going to create two equations. So x and x is equal to, and then I'm going to take whatever it's equal to, so 192, and then I'm going to take the negative of it, so negative 192. There's nothing for me to do, so this is my final answer. It's already done for me, so x is equal to 192, comma, negative 192, or you can say, you can write them in increasing, decreasing order, it doesn't really matter. You'll oftentimes will see that they will go in increasing order, so you'll see that they will write negative 192 first, but it doesn't matter for me. Or you can write x is equal to 192 or negative 192. All right, so those are some of the most basic ones. So now let's go ahead and make this a little bit harder. All right, so now this problem, let me label this. I haven't labeled any of the problems yet. So now we have x, the absolute value of x plus 12 is equal to 35. So now remember, we still need to create two equations. So the first equation is going to be x plus 12 is equal to exactly what we have, so 35. And then I'm going to create the second equation of x plus 12 is equal to negative 35. All right, now this isn't just our variable x, it's actually something's being done on the inside of it. So now we need to solve these like we would with a regular linear equation. How do I solve this? Well, we're adding 12, so I will then subtract 12. they cancel each other out. So x is then equal to 35 minus 12, which is 23. And then for this one, I'll subtract 12, they cancel each other out. So x is then equal to, now they're both negative, so I'll add them. So it'll be 47. And then since they're both negative, my answer is still negative. So that means x can either be 23 or negative 47. So x is equal to 23 or negative 47. Right? And we can check our work. We can plug them back in. We can see, does the absolute value of 23 plus 12 actually equal to 35? Well, 23 plus 12 is 35. The absolute value of 35 is 35. So yes, they equal. And then we can also plug in the negative 47. So the absolute value of negative 47 plus 12, does this equal to 35? Well, negative 47 plus 12 is negative 35. And we know that this absolute value of negative 35 is positive 35. So yes, they are equal. All right, so this is the last problem I'm going to go through with you, and then there's another problem I'm going to present that we'll discuss. But same thing. We take everything that's on the inside of our absolute value. So we know that x over 2 minus 13 is going to be equal to what we have here, which is positive 24. And then we're going to create our second equation, which is x over 2 minus 13 is going to be equal to negative 24. Because we know both a positive 24 and a negative 24 will both give us a 24 as our answer. So that's why we need to say, okay, well, what's on the inside of the absolute value can be both negative and positive. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and solve. I'm going to get rid of my addition first. So then I get x over 2 is equal to 24 plus 13, which is 37. Then I'm going to multiply to get rid of that division of 2. So x is then equal to 74. All right, that is my one answer. And then my next answer, I'm going to add the 13. So x over 2 is equal to negative 11. And then I'll multiply each side by 2. And x is then equal to negative 22. So my answer is x is equal to negative 22 or 74. All right. And just like I did in the last one, you can plug this back in to check your work. All right. Because we know that the opposite numbers have the exact same absolute value, we need to then set up and create two equations for this. All right. I'm going to now present one other problem to you, and we're going to discuss this, and I'm going to see what your answers are. I'm not going to give you the final answer. I'm going to see what you guys will put in the question. So what if I give you this problem, and I say the absolute value of x is equal to negative 2? What do you think this answer will be? All right. I'm going to leave this as the last question, one of the questions that you will answer, and we will discuss this in class at the beginning of class. All right, but I want you to think about this. The absolute value of x is equal to negative 2. What could our possible answers be? And if you need to, start writing out some examples and see how you can get negative 2 or if you can at all. All right, and that is it for this video.